Welcome to the Bot War Show. Tonight we're going to be talking about Red Star Nation. My name's Mark, and I'm joined by Drew, Anthony, Stuart. We're going to talk all things Bot War, especially Red Star Nation. Hi guys, how you all doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Good. Good. Yes, we made it.
We did. We're back in the new year, 2024.
Oh, yeah. I wrote 2023 on some postage the other day. It's like,
It's easy to do. It takes about a month to get your head around it.
yeah.
So tell me, Anthony, tell us, All-Star, give us a history lesson on Red Star Nation.
A history lesson. Well, straight into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez, I just have to pull up all the information. What type of history lesson do you want? Do you want an actual in-law history lesson, or do you want a development history lesson?
Probably in lore. I think everybody's interested in the faction. I mean, we all know it's the dinosaur one, it's cool because it's the dinosaur one. I think you get a lot of feedback in Facebook and the like about how cool the dinosaurs are, and they're all mechanized and the like. So I know that there's a lot of fan favorites out there for this actual particular group.
I think it was the. I think it was the 10th faction sort of officially, but unofficially, I think it's one of the first. It was actually a faction idea from a member of the community at the time. It wasn't actually my original idea. And it was sort of like as we were transitioning into sort of be more of all of Saturday morning type cartoons, that they sort of came out, and I sort of thought, oh yeah, why not? And we sort of tried it. But lore wise, it took a little while to integrate Red Star, which are obviously Soviets from the Cold War era. That was their main inspiration. But it took a long while to sort of integrate them into the wider Bot War universe, because they were sort of, a lot of Bot War takes place in the democracy, which is sort of United States, and they weren't really involved in that. But probably in the Red Star guide, just recently released, that I've managed to sort of integrate them more into the wider Bot War universe. So they're sort of a product of early Snake Cult, because obviously Red Star is about the system of, and democracy about the system of governments, and it gets a little bit political, which we try and stay away from on this channel. But yeah, I sort of put Snake Cult in there as like the protagonist of how that system was created, as sort of like the ideal system for Snake Cult to thrive in that sort of system, and sort of what they eventually aim for in the entire world.
And of course, in the lore, it's they were attacked by the overlords.
Correct, by Gorg, yes.
And I believe there was Squid Lord that pretty much decimated most of their cities, which is a very large.
Well, Squid Lore is the giant one, and then Squidling is the little offspring of Squid Lore. But Squid Lore is a bit of a rogue in the sense that he's not really obedient to Gorg. And that's sort of what happened, is that he sort of escaped and made a way to the coast, but happened to go through the Red Star cities on the way there. And then Gorg sort of released his shark kaiju to follow him, but they sort of ended up snacking on a lot of people on the way. So that's sort of how it happened. And Gorg is a funny one in the sense that he doesn't really care or give a toss about humanity at all. All he cares about is his games and honing his creatures and all that sort of stuff. It just so happens that sort of attitude is not great for humanity when you've got like giant monsters roaming around. So yeah, I think Gorg really thinks humanity's beneath him on a lot of levels, but he does covet the Dinoborgs for their ferocity. Because obviously when he came to Earth, the Dinoborgs didn't exist at all. and dinosaurs were long gone by the time he came. So he took the next fiercest creatures, which were like sharks and sort of crocodiles and things like that. Only to discover that we did have DNA for dinosaurs kicking around, and we created the Red Star created the Dinoborgs, and now he wants them.
Yep. And they're a very nasty, nasty, nasty group of units when you play them. I can myself. I believe David gave me a right royal thrashing when I played the Overlords.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're a great thing. We'll talk obviously about some Red Star units very shortly. But you know, they're an interesting group, and prior to the whole bot war starting, the Red Star and the Democracy were at each other's throats themselves in their own cold.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, they didn't really have any they didn't have any special branch really, and they didn't have any Dinoborgs. So it was very much the Cold War between the two.
And of course, now at this stage, the soldiers that were, how can we say, still surviving, although rather incapacitated, were either turned into cyborg legionnaires in the Red Star Army, or their general, what is it, General and Colonel Yuri and General Melikov, who are basically cyborg units, half robot, half whatever, human, and they're quite strong units in themselves.
Well, there are some human units, but they're not really they're really rare now. So most of the Red Star forces are cyborgs, network cyborgs. Malkov and Yuri were prototypes, so they got more of themselves. But yeah, so you can. I did actually put a couple of human cards in the new guide.
Thank you.
Just so people could still use their old Red Star infantry, and in more themey games and stuff like that. But they're pretty rare, and the force is really supposed to be more cyborg/cyborg dinosaur list.
They show up more in ROTD, don't they, Anthony? You get more.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because it's taken that it's sort of weird how that works. Like usually games that are of a smaller scale are like mass combat games with loads of units out, but Bot War's still a skirmish game. But then it's sort of flipped when it comes to ROTD in the sense that it's more squad based, except the narrative is smaller, if you know what I mean. Like it's sort of upside down. So you sort of get a more focused detail on the Bot War universe with ROTD, but the game is bigger. Whereas you get a much larger scope with Bot War, but the game is smaller.
Yes,
which is weird.
You end up with lots and lots more points, but we'll talk about that hopefully tonight's show. So that gives a bit of a précis of the lore. Of everybody that's here, who's played Red Star Nation?
Not yet. Mine are still waiting to be green stuffed and painted. I'm going a little overboard on the painting with them, making them battle scarred and whatnot. So
they're very fun to paint. Stuart, I know you've painted a lot. Have you played them yet?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play them, unfortunately. Bit of a shame because I really enjoyed painting them. So I would love to get them on the board, especially the dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're fun.
A big front but no, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to play them yet.
I know Anthony has.
Yeah.
Thump around the table. I've given him a good thump around the table, both playing and played against. Tell us your experience, Anthony, when you've played with them.
Oh, I struggle with multiple cubes, with them, like knowing I think the key to the force, and I know some people's brains are wired this way, that they're really good at like stuff like that, but I seem to seem to struggle with knowing where and when to put the red on who and when to use it. So I think that's the key to winning with the faction is like if you can understand when you need that red and who it should be on, I think that's really like 25% of the game right there for Red Star. So when we get to talk about our lists, I'll probably iterate more about that, about my thinking about creating that list because it's quite different to the one that we played. That I played you with, I think. So yeah, I had a bit more of a think about it and thought maybe this is the way to go.
Well, as I say, I played with them and against them. They're a tough army to face, and like some of the other armies out there, you have vehicles, you still have some infantry, and the cyborg legionnaires, and then you've got the dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs vary in size greatly. Everything from the Borg, right up to the Brontoborg, which is a massive unit now compared with the old Brontoborg, which was much smaller in comparison. And definitely looks more like the 40 points now. And having faced that, and David, big shout out to David, who I played, and he absolutely annihilated me with the Brontoborg. Close to him. It's a very, very amazing unit, which on that note, if I may, I'm going to pull up on screen now. I didn't think that we should. My apologies, we had some technical difficulties.
We're going to edit all that out, right?
Normally not what I have problems with, but anyway, tonight is that night. The Brontoborg, obviously there on the screen. I believe he's there in front of you now. I thought he was a good unit to talk about from a Red Star Nation perspective because he's a bit unique in that he has that energy you were talking about before, Anthony, which is obviously he has the pink and the red energy. So 2 pink, 1 red. But he also has some range differences there as well. Obviously, at short distance, he only throws 2 dice, where at long distance, he doesn't have a maximum range, and he throws 6 dice. Is that correct?
Correct. And I see you have like a error on the card there. Like that's from me. It's I did actually fix that error, but you must have got an earlier download of that card.
That is the download off the website I bought yesterday.
Oh, really?
There.
Great. It's like I think it's the PDF is not accepting the PDF is not accepting the font that's being used. It was, and then decided it wasn't.
Okay.
So I have to fix that.
But he's very good. I've got to say, those big guns, they make a very big difference in a game when I've played against.
His weakness is short range shooting. So, which is like he's the only major unit in the game that has short range shooting as a weakness, which is probably the weakest weakness of any of the big guys. So he's pretty tough.
What he makes up for there is he can drop a whole heap of cyborg legionnaires. And if you focus on the Brontoborg, the little guys take you down, which is what I experienced when I played. I focused my fire on the Brontoborg to my detriment, where the cyborg basically came in and wiped me out. And I've got to say, those little guys can pack quite a punch, which we'll talk about shortly. But I've got to say, I played against a Brontoborg. It's an impressive unit, and don't take the other units for granted if you try to take it down.
Yeah, it does move pretty slow. So if you do a joint close attack charge with a few models, then you'll probably take it down before it can even swing. But that's easier said than done, right?
Absolutely. He's usually very close to the edge of the table, trying to maximize his firing range. So, every time you stick your unit out to go and try and take a shot at him, that's when the little units start swarming on top of you, and you end up getting hit by 2 or 3 different models, different directions. My question was, he can transport 3 cyborg legionnaires, but he moves really slow, so the likelihood of that being the case is very low. But does that mean that you'd still have to take the special upgrade card to allow you to take more cyborg legionnaires cards? Or
correct. You still need to. Yeah, you don't. Even though it says that's how many you can take, in the actual force, you still need to adhere to the rules of the force of taking. If you want to take multiples, you need the extra card. That's sort of built in as a penalty.
Yes.
Because it is quite a powerful thing.
People going, I'll take the unit and I'll try and get around the rule that way. You still have to take that upgrade in this particular case.
Yeah.
And the tail smash is an interesting component too, because obviously that's a close attack, but it adds, obviously, it's a +2 damage to the total. So
yeah, it's like the old combat mace.
Yes.
I think something like that. Not the current combat mace, which is a bit different, but the old combat mace used to add +2 damage.
Well, it's a very effective thing when you're in close attack.
It's like a weaker Trachosaur.
Yes.
Super tail smash. I think that's what it's called.
And
it's pretty deadly.
Yeah, it is very deadly. And the other thing I like about the bulk of the Red Star Nation is they all have pretty much adrenaline as a
which is like a thing for monsters in Bot War. I think nearly all monsters have adrenaline, which it just makes them like super resilient. And that's sort of like, I don't know if you guys ever saw like Pacific Rim and stuff like that. I think the idea behind that was like the monsters always like took a lot of damage and kept coming back. And so that's really why I wanted to make the monsters in Bot War sort of behave in a similar way. Then like the monsters in those movies and stuff, they got defeated quite readily by the giant robots and stuff, but they just kept coming back and kept coming back and kept coming back and sort of wore the robots down. And so that's really what I want to capture with the Overlords and with the Dinoborgs.
Well, I think you captured that certainly when I play them. They're nasty to play. With that in mind, we'll swap across now, and Anthony, I'll let you take away and talk about your list.
Yeah, well, I was going to take the Bronzeborg in my list and then decided, you know what, I think I could fit like 5 models in or something like that, what I wanted to take. And I decided, because really the Bronzeborg, when you take the Bronzeborg, you're sort of taking that and then just a bunch of fluff, really. Like, it's hard to like fit in, because if you think about having to grab objectives and things like that, there's not much room for any other dinosaurs if you're going to run anyone more than 5 models in a 100-point list. So we're talking like Beast Lord levels of amount of models on the table if you take the Bronzeborg. But so I want to take like lots of other models, but still have quite a strategy to my list. So I've actually taken a bunch of fast units there with Yuri, H11, and the Terrorborg. And the Stegoborg and the Tricerborg are really my sort of like mobile batteries, as in not like, no, in this game, not batteries, but as in gun batteries. So you've got the ground-to-air missile on the Tricerborg and the RA4 on the Stegoborg are my big shooters. The Ankyloborg's my battery. The Pachyoborg is and the Vezdehod are my objective grabbers. So, yeah. I think the trouble with this list might be that I don't have enough energy, especially for if I'm running a H11 gunship.
Well,
So
you've got that additional red energy. You've got about 5 red energy on top of that, but they're once a game sort of energy. So 14 is pretty low. It'd be good if it was energy on the table object game. If you could capture enough objectives, you're getting more energy from that.
yeah, I just think in the Ankyloborg's not going to be really doing much. The Pachyoborg, maybe it's bringing 3 energy to the table, but yeah, it's going to be tight on it, really tight on energy, especially if I want to get the most out of that jetpack on the H11. I think I can see really Yuri and the H11 doing much of the work.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, playing with 5 models anyway, but having a couple in reserve.
It's interesting, the Vesticle, which I've also got in my list, and I'm sure others have got it as well, with that heavy caliber gun. It's very, very good until it's taken out, but it can take down one of those valuable models on the other side if it can get a clear shot.
Yeah, I use the Vesticog more of a sentry, to protect like the Tricerborg and Stegoborg. If anyone gets close to them to start doing them major damage, then the Vestigog's sort of running sort of sweeper, to use soccer terms, in the background to just zip between the two and give them a heavy caliber. Like if you get any deceivers that fly across or anything like that to get close, then the Vestigog's sort of running, protecting the goal in that sense. But he'll probably not. I won't be taking the. It's pretty weak to be taken forward and try and getting a shot like that off, because you're going to lose it. But it's a pretty good deterrent, because anyone that comes across, unless they're like the top models, are going to take some serious damage.
Absolutely. It's one of those one-hit wonder sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a total one-hit wonder.
It can really damage. Like if you had Conspiracy on the table and that thing took its shot and it could like take off half to 75% of its health in shot, that's a very valuable unit to have on the table, given it's only 9 points versus something like Conspiracy that's 50. So they do have their advantages, and with those expensive units, it can play quite a dangerous scenario. I also like Yuri on Alkalina too. I believe I might have taken a similar style of approach there, Anthony. It's a low SR unit. It has lots of movement, and he has a flamethrower on it too. It's interesting. How would you work that? Would you run him straight up the table to try and take stuff out?
No, he's sort of more of a strike from the back lines with that movement 10. I was just thinking as well, you've just got to bear in mind that the Red Star has been written with a slow transition into Bot War 3. So especially with the big guys as well, like we're going to find in Bot War 3 that like the large Titan robots are going to get pretty strong. So that sort of makes a difference when we're talking about like Brontoborg versus Conspiracy and things like that. So, but we'll see how it go. We'll see how they go. But there will be some very slight changes to the core way the game is played. I don't want to alarm anyone because it's not that major, but it's just like some tweaks that'll probably change some of the things that we're talking about in regards to building a list for Red Star.
Well, I believe that's being released later this year. Is that correct, Anthony?
Yeah, hopefully we'll do a pre-order for it this year.
So stay tuned for that. Anthony, is there anything else you'd like to share on your list for Red Star?
No, I think that's pretty good. It's like a faster list. It's reasonably resilient. I didn't take any of the little Raptorborgs or anything like that. I've just felt the Ankyloborg was a better battery for me. It's a bit more resilient. But apart from that, yeah, there's that's the only reason I took the Ankyloborg, because it's like 2 pink cubes and more resilient than taking multiple Raptorborgs.
Yes. Well, you've got 46 health, a range attack total of 25, close attack 16. So you're definitely focusing much more on a range attack style list than a close attack or melee style of attack. Plenty of shields though. They can take a bit of a buffering. It's a good list.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
We've got Drew next. Take us through your list, Drew.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at the way the red energy works with them and everything, where you can re-roll, shield dice and everything depending on what you're doing. I kind of wanted to lean into that with the general and the colonel, with their inspiring presence, and then adding networked systems on top of that. So just maximizing their dice pools, because the units I picked mostly are somewhat lacking in the ranged attack. I mean, I know they've got 3, but compared to some other forces, that's a little weak. So I thought that would help them kind of get in and get stuck in the combat where it needed to, along with the J12 kind of lowering dice pools to help with that. And then I used the Legionnaire as an objective grabber, some backline or some support wherever it needed it. But no, I just kind of made a general fun list. It's not got as many units as Anthony's and everything, but I was really enjoying.
It's not that different. You still got about. I think you've only got one less unit, or maybe the same.
Okay. I thought I was one or two short of yours, but
it might have been one short.
Yeah, and I was kind of debating what I wanted to be the big heavy hitter. So of course I kind of defaulted to the Tyranno. Just that, and the model's just so cool. And then threw combat stems on it to kind of give it a impromptu ram attack, even though it's not getting the dice bonus from it.
I gotta say, I picked the Tyrannoborg for the exact same reason, bro. You can't not have that on your force. It's too nasty looking when it's charging at you for 21. And, obviously it can use adrenaline twice. Which is quite beneficial in certain circumstances. You got the energy to use it. It's a good list. Obviously, General Melikov is a beast on Polina, and it's nice to see him included here. And he's cheaper than Yuri, but having the two together is also interesting, because I could see them playing off with each other and really creating problems for people.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of banking on. That, and seeing two named units on the board a lot of times can kind of split people's attention as to which one they want to focus on.
Yeah. But if you focus too much on one, the other one runs all over you, leads the units up. Look, great unit. I really like the Tricyborg unit. I know you picked it. I think, Anthony, you had the Tricyborg as well.
Yeah.
He's a tough unit. He's only 14 points. He's got ground-air missiles. He's not a bad unit. Has anybody played him?
I don't think did I play him? I don't think so. I played the Stegoborg, I think, last time. But ground-air missile is like solid.
Yeah.
That's why I picked it.
Yeah.
Against a deceiver force, very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's like, a great stalwart. For 14 points for his stats, he's not bad.
Yeah. So if you're running that, you're running the H11 with target matrix, and you're running Stegoborg, then you're essentially running like 3-4A units against flyers, because you can boost. You can boost it because target matrix and ground air missile counter short range against flies.
Yeah. Which takes them down. So, great unit, group of units there. I'm going to talk about OYH46 in a minute. I really like that unit, particularly in ROTD. as Anthony knows when he faced me with the Atlantic.
Oh, yeah.
It was looking good for you there at one moment, then all of a sudden it all fell apart. But yeah, look, he's a tough unit. He's only 7 points, and he's got some great stats for a 7-point unit. So one shouldn't underestimate, even though they've only got 4 health, how useful those units can be, because people often overlook them, and much to their detriment, because they're too focused on the larger model, and these little guys get.
He's essentially running 3 shields against shooting, because
Yes.
he's got obscure and 2 shields. So he's no real pushover in regards to shields. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of health, but you got to break those shields first.
Yeah, but what you were talking about earlier, also, he has adrenaline, so it's just that kind of.
Yeah,
he can just stick around just that one turn more if he needs to.
Mm.
Your opponent.
Yeah, if you don't kill him straight away, he can then pump himself up to be more than 4 health if you roll well, and he didn't lose a lot.
So he's a great little unit and one highly underestimated for his value. But we'll get to that in a moment. Thank you, Drew. I've got a very large list of units, running everything from Colonel. I picked Colonel Yuri, and I've got a few different Dinoborgs in here. I took Cyborg Legionnaires and IOYH-46. I've gone Raptorborg and Raptorborg Murder, and I've got a Tyrannoborg in there. So I've got a very large list. I boosted the Cyborg Legionnaires with the upgrade of enhanced systems, so they got that extra hit point.
Yeah.
So I came out at 100 directly. My close attack and my range attack are quite high. My energy is a bit on the low side. One, which is actually incorrect there, but 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I think I've got the lowest amount of energy out of everybody.
No, I think I had 14, but probably compared to the amount of troops you got, yes, probably.
I was using some of the cyborgs and some of the Raptorborgs as batteries that were units on the table as well. But essentially, I've got a lot of units on the table to try and attack with multiple units. And as I say, David took this style of approach with me, and I underestimated it to my detriment. And he really annihilated my overlords using a very similar list to this. So I know for a fact it can be quite deadly. If you
the Cyborg Legionnaires might not be but they're still pumping out 3 RA.
Yes.
So it's still deadly enough shots.
Even though they're a little unit and they're obscure.
Mm.
So that's the direction I went with mine. I obviously like using that heavy caliber gun, just bringing it up like you said, Anthony, and just taking down that valuable unit. And using the Tyrannoborg, probably with the Raptorborgs in conjunction to try and take some things down as well, is probably something I'd be doing quite a bit. Maybe even throw the Pachyborg in on that as well, and try and take some things down with a ram attack there, and the Tyrannoborg sort of finishing them off. And then Yuri and the pterodactyls flying around and providing some air cover to sort of come in and do some work there as well. So I was trying for high moving and two sorts of fronts with some mechanized units and some Dinoborgs working in tandem there. And then, of course, finally we've got Stuart's army, and we've got your list here.
It's a bit of an odd one.
And after all that talk about the Bronteborg, no one took it.
I wanted to. Those are units. But please, Stuart, continue.
Well, my idea was to get quite a few of the older style units and a lot of cyborg legionnaires on. So I wanted to have almost like a swarm attack using the cyborg legionnaires. So obviously I've taken the cyborg factory, additional legionnaires, OYH-46, and the Ankyloborgs to kind of transport them. So they would be be central sort of dominating force in the middle of the battlefield, while the gunship and the flying units would just harass people. I think because it's transport 2 for the Ankylborg. I was going to stick the Spetsnaz section in as well because I kind of like the idea of the Red Star guys sitting on the back of a dinosaur. But the whole idea was to get like almost like a swarm force because, like you say, those cyborg legionnaires, because they're obscure and the three attack dice still for a unit that's obscure and quite like quite cheap because they're only 6 points a pop. I think is pretty good. And Colonel Yuri, I was going to twin with the Firewolf and just have him as like sort of almost like a fly, like an escort for the Firewolf, so that they can both operate in the opponent's half of the table using that disorient and yeah.
Well, he's got the table-wide umbrella of inspiring presence as well with network systems.
Yeah. That's it. And it's the good thing about the Ankylborgs as well. Once they've got forward, deployed the legionnaires to either depend on the mission if you're taking objectives or whatever it is that you're doing. They go forward, deploy the troops, and then they're actually, because they've got adrenaline surge. Have they got adrenaline surge? I think they do.
Yeah.
Yes. Because they've got adrenaline surge, you get that extra critical when you make a close combat attack, don't you? So I think they're still quite dangerous, even though they don't have any additional special abilities. So they take a bit of fire when they come in, they drop off their troops, and then they should be in a dangerous enough position to kind of.
Well, the adrenaline is more of like a defensive thing. Like if you get attacked and you survive, then you adrenaline up and you just give someone a serious counter whack, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, because not only if someone attacks you, let's say attacks an Ankylborg and they take 5 damage off, right? You got 1 damage left. Well, then you're in base to base, you drop adrenaline, you get back 3 damage and like 3 extra attacks and just like whack the person back like completely off their feet. So that it just makes people think, like, if you attack a Dinoborg or someone with adrenaline, then you want to make sure that you kill that model in that turn, because if they then drop adrenaline, they're going to not only heal back some damage, but potentially punch your lights out as a consequence of like you attacking them. Because it can completely flip, like you go in and take, I've only got 1 damage to go, and then all of a sudden drops adrenaline, bang, you're dead. It's like...
Well, that's it. I think, what's it? The Cyborg Legionnaires OYH46 and both the Ankylborgs, they've all got adrenaline surge. And that's quite a few units that are, you just don't want to get too close to. And if you're using them as like area denial forces, like it forces people to kind of
it's potentially going to it's potentially going to wreck trashers if trashers can't take down whatever they're attacking in the first round, because then then they just get whacked back and the trashers are gone.
Which might be the only problem that I think I've got, because I've got 18 energy and I've not got a lot to spread around for boosts. For
but you can re-roll if you're running a red on anything that gets attacked, right?
Yeah, but I've only got 3
and then
red.
you got an inspiring presence as well.
Yeah. True.
Oh,
But
that's right. Because you didn't take hardly any Dinoborgs, so you probably don't have many reds at all.
No, that's it. I've got 2 red in there, one on OYH46 and one on Yuri. So I'm not. That might be the biggest problem I can see with my list is that I've not got a lot of energy to spread around for boosts. It's a bit of a shame. But when actually with transport, do you still? It's not like Symbiont, is it? Where you have because you still get your energy. You don't have to expend your energy to stay in like Symbiont, do you?
Correct.
So for the first until they pop out, I've still got an extra.
Well, they can shoot from transport position as well,
Yeah,
but you just can't boost.
yeah.
So they can do drive-bys or walk-bys
three.
as on an Anchor, they can do walk-bys.
Meander by.
Yeah, meander-bys.
The more leisurely drive by.
Yes,
that's the only thing.
Table, and then the next round, the cyborg legionnaires firing out on their what is it, SR32.
Yeah,
but that could be like quite devastating in itself. Like if you got, I think you can transport 2, if I have that correct. So if you're doing a meander by, and you do 2 soften up hits, only because you can't boost on a meander by, you might actually chip a couple of damage off before the Ankyborg can then boost its shot.
Yeah.
At close range. So that actually could be pretty devastating as well.
And actually, the Spetsnaz, if they're being carried inside the Kyleborg, they're efficient, so you don't have to expend any energy for them to shoot while being transported, which would give you a little bit of an extra boost there. It's only one or two like circumstances where you can use it, I suppose, but it's those little things, I suppose, that make those opportunities during the game. But yeah, so it was a bit of an interesting list. I wanted to see what I could make out of like cyborg legionnaires. I probably should have put a few more in, to be honest, but
I was very tempted to take a full army of cyborg legionnaires just to see what it would look like on our list here. I was very tempted.
the first one I put together was like Brontaborg and Kyleborg, cyborg legionnaires, OYH46. And I thought, all right, okay, stick all these in and see how how you can do. But it's and Kyleborg's obviously Brontaborg's like 40 points, and then you've got, if you want to fill in the capacity, there's another 18. There's like more than half your points gone. What else do you fit in your list? And quite a lot of the other units are between 10, 15, 20. So you kind of it's a delicate balance. And I suppose again, if you're going for hordes, like a horde list, I suppose you could make quite a bit, couldn't you? Really. Was it like 16? 2, 4, 7. Actually, yeah, that's quite a
10 units would be 60.
Quite a.
Once you get up to like 16 models, you start to break the game. I think I once ran a 16 or 17 model infestors list, and I was just like, where am I? What am I doing? Who's moved? It's like it was quite hard to track everybody. But that could have just been my brain at the time. It's like just not enough RAM, not been able to deal with more than 16 things.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, if you took like a massive horde list, I mean, what, like 5 cyborg legionnaires, Brontaborg, 2 Ankyloborgs. So like what I've got here plus Brontaborg, maybe he's replaced and stuff. That's 88 points. No, 86 points. It only leaves you like 14 to get something else. So your initial drops would be Brontoborg, your two Ankyloborgs, and then whatever else you've got. That's like 4 5 models maybe is to deal with when you first start. But then in later turns, like you say, all these cyborg legionnaires jump out, and you've suddenly more than.
It's like running a Hive Lord list.
Yeah, that's it.
What's the rule, Anthony, in regards to transports if they're carrying something and they're taken out?
I think they're destroyed.
They're destroyed outright. It's not like the
No, it's not like Rise of Democracy where you take extra damage and stuff like that. I think they're just destroyed outright. It's because the transport ability is such a powerful thing. It's going to be probably more powerful because blue speedsters will be able to transport people like a lot. So we're actually just doing some concept art because blue speedsters are going to get motorbikes, which are alt form bots that are in motorcycle mode.
Love me a good motorcycle.
So yeah,
and miniatures.
So it's going to be pretty cool. But transport reel is pretty strong because it's sort of like that's the because I think the host rule's the same. I think you are destroyed as well. I can't remember if the firepower rule's the same. But all of those 3 rules have a similar thing that they're all very powerful to get multiple units across the board really quickly. And so that's the drawback. Everything in Bolt War has a drawback in case you've not noticed. It's you can actually do this and it's really powerful, but if you get caught out, then it's pretty detrimental.
Yeah.
The only downside to transport, but everybody's watching that when they're actually doing it. So, but I did want to ask that question because I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think it just stops you being so blasé with it. If there's a potential for you to die, you need to think of what I don't want to have any rule as sort of like an insta win. And so transport is really powerful, but the drawback is that if you get killed, then everything getting transport gets killed too. That's just fair as far as I'm concerned. With what is it? With great risk comes great. Whereas great reward is great risk or something.
Well, I gotta say, Stuart, I like your list. You definitely got the most models on the table, and I love that you took a Betsnat section on that there as well. Because despite them having very few human models left, I still like to see a few human models on the table every now and again. They can't move very far, but they're cool when they're on the table. And I'd love to see them kicking off the back of an alcohol.
Well, like I said, if I'd had 1 point more, it probably would have been something.
The famous last words. I don't know how many times I said that.
If I had 1 more, but the list, I think the list works quite well. I think it works quite well.
I'd love to see these on the table. I'd love some battle reports with these. I really would.
Stuart reckons he's doing a tournament this year.
Yes.
I'm calling him out on the podcast.
Well, no, definitely. I'm definitely going to do a tournament. It's just how quickly I can get people together in my locale. So if anybody in the Newcastle area or the northeast of England, or actually in England, or anywhere wants to Newcastle for a tournament, then get yourselves onto the Bot War Facebook page and let me know, because it would be great to run a tournament. We've got loads of venue options. There's tons of clubs that I'm sure we can get some interest from, but I need people to actually sign up and make themselves known and start chucking some dice.
If you get 10 players, there's definitely easily 10 players in the UK. I'd say there's 10 players even in the north around Newcastle.
Yeah,
sure.
On that note, piggybacking on what you just said, we are in tentative works of trying to get a tournament done at NashCon in Nashville, Tennessee at the end of September.
Oh, yeah, Andre was doing that.
Yeah, we've been talking about it because there's a whole lot of players close to that area that are within a few hours drive. So we're trying to get that going too. So
please forgive my geography of
said.
the US, but whereabouts is Ohio compared to Nashville, Tennessee? Is it a long way away?
No, well, not really, because you've got like Tennessee here, and then Kentucky sits on top of it, and Ohio's kind of like.
I definitely know there's players in Kentucky. And there's a lot of players. I think the highest concentration of players is probably in Ohio, I think.
But, yeah, they'd probably be, I don't know, 4 to 8 hours away, depending on how far
That's a long way.
Up north they are.
That's a long way, 4 to 8 hours. My radius would be like 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. I did a 4-hour drive for a tournament last weekend, so.
Oh, wow. That's commitment. That is commitment. Yeah, definitely. Like I
2 hours.
I remember driving from London up to Nottingham for the Weimar GTs. I can't even remember how long that was. That was like, what, 2 hours?
When London,
in M25 traffic, it was.
Oh, 4 or 5 then.
yeah. But yeah, so I've done Brisbane a few times from here for a tournament, but yeah, 3 hours would be my max, I reckon.
But
depends who you have in the car, I suppose.
Yeah. Also, speaking of tournaments, I think we all had the tournament mindset on this, where we were all thinking someone else was going to bring the Bronto board. So we're like, I'm not going to bring that.
Yeah, well, it's the first thing I thought of. I thought to myself, I'll put the Dinoborg, and I started like making a list. And I'm, I didn't like that. Someone else will bring the Dinoborg. I'll just do this one.
I just wanted that to on the table, and the minute I put that in the list, it's like, I can't fit it. I just can't. I need that Tyrannoborg to be part of my army. Look, these are great lists. I hope that the community out there can come up with some wonderful lists. Maybe chuck some up online on the Facebook page. Share your own lists. And get some talk going around this, because coming into tournaments like it's happening in the UK and US, and I think there might even be some in Australia as well. I think Anthony's got some planned. It's not
that I know of. I haven't got time to scratch myself these days.
Look, I'm finishing. I thought this is a little bit different. I've got an ROTD 100-point list here.
Oh, wow.
I just chucked it in there. Just for the ROTD or the 30 mil scale players who might be watching. It's just a simple list. It's got Melikov, Commandant Alexei, Comrade Rakhnikov, OYH-46 makes its appearance here as a much larger model, as does a Cyborg Legionnaire, which I might add, I see you have points on those, Anthony.
Yeah, because they are way too cheap for the amount of damage that they do. They are way too cheap.
Points or something, and I was like, I was putting my list together and go, okay, well, I have 3 Cyborg Legionnaires. It's like, it's 19 points now.
Yeah.
More than they used to be. And then I'll put in some Rakhnikov's Hounds, which are the new unit that's in there. And they've got that cruel rule where they get to add dice if units are half strength or something. Is that correct, Anthony?
Oh, I can't remember now. I actually updated that when I updated the 30mm rules core system, because I think I updated that pretty soon after we played that game. And that was fresh in my mind.
Yeah, well, I sort of
brutalized by Cyborg Legionnaire, multiple shots from Cyborg Legionnaires. And I was like, nah, he's not having it. He's not having it.
Could only get one. They're very powerful units. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that up for interest. Obviously, with an ROTD force, you'd probably be running a 200-point army, though, rather than 100.
Yeah, definitely.
So you'd be probably looking at double that number of miniatures on the table. and that's where you'd have one of the transports like the Vesikov on the table as well. But yeah,
it's gonna like I think as well. Like the meta has moved on a little bit as well, so we're going to start seeing 10-man units, like platoons in Rise of Democracy. There's now a few that have platoons coming out. So yeah, it's going to get very sort of large squad based. But I think that's when you just start modifying the points values. Like as long as you get the points values, like 200 points or such and such, then it's still quite manageable. My idea is to still be able to play it on a 6x3.
Yeah, it plays well on a 6x3. And
yeah,
even with the points of army on the table, it plays very well on a 6x3.
Yeah.
I thought I'd throw that up there for those who are in the 30 mil range, so that they felt like they were still getting something out of our little bot war presentation tonight. I just thought I'd throw that in.
I should just quickly throw in, Mark, as well, that there's a lot more close combat coming to Rise of Democracy, because when it was first developed, that meta side of it wasn't huge. So I don't know if you're using ruffians in your Red Star force.
I have them. I haven't used them yet.
Yeah. So close combat will be a thing because there's jump packs coming as well. Jump pack squads.
And I know the Atlanticans are getting some upgrades soon too for that, which are looking
quite... Well, the Scuttlers just came out in resin, which look great. Man, the resin's so good. The Scuttlers are really good. So multiple Scuttler tanks will be pretty cool.
That's nice. They're great models to paint as well. The Scuttlers. Really beautiful models.
I'm really hoping to put more vehicles into the game because I think that's where it's lacking a bit. But I've got a guy working on, used to get those 3D, like the plans of vehicles. Like you got a front view, a side view, and a top view and things. So a guy's doing that for most of the vehicles now, so we can sculpt them up in more detail for this to appropriate to the scale rather than just increasing bot war models.
They're going to be good. So, again, just a big shout out to the 30 mil miniature guys. We haven't forgotten about it. You might see a few of these lists coming into our presentations. Look, guys, thanks again for getting together for tonight. We've obviously talked all things Red Star tonight, and I look forward to catching up with you and the community through Facebook and with our next show. Thanks all.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.